Hi and welcome to Knitting Blooms, episode 13. Today is July 24th, 2011. My name is Tina and I am your host. I would like to thank everybody who has been watching the show and who continues to come back for more. I really hope you enjoy the show. And if you have any suggestions or comments about the show, please feel free to get in contact with me. I love to hear what people are thinking about the show and if they have any suggestions to make it better and what have you. So please get in contact with me if you have any suggestions or comments about the show, good or bad. I want to know everything. This week has been another crazy week for me. My boss was supposed to go on vacation this week, so I would have had the whole week at work, peace and quiet. Well, the boat broke down and they couldn't go. So my boss showed up for work on Monday and he was not in the best of moods all week. He was crazy. So last week I was stressed because I was trying to get everything done for him before he left. This week I was stressed because he was there and in a bad mood. I mean, I guess I would be in a bad mood as well if I missed my vacation, but come on. I mean, he's the boss. He could have gone somewhere else and done something else, but no, he came into the office and just irritated everybody. Crazy. So I didn't get as much knitting done this week as I had hoped because of that. Usually when he's out of town, I have a lot of free time at the office. I had gotten all of my work done, all caught up last week so that I could, kind of relax. I mean, I would still have work to do while he's gone, but I would have more free time if he was not there. But I didn't get as much knitting done as I would have liked. Plus, the weather didn't help. It was so hot this week, and even on Friday, I mean, I just didn't feel like doing anything. I mean, I didn't feel like knitting. I didn't feel like playing Sims. I just didn't feel like doing anything. So I ended up doing some reading on Friday instead of anything else. My summer reading has really taken a hit because of Netflix and podcasts and what have you, because usually in the summertime there's nothing good to watch on TV, so I read a lot. But now with Netflix I can just queue up a show or a movie or whatever just on demand, and then the podcast, trying to keep up with all the different video podcasts, that takes a lot of time as well. But anyway, we'll get on to the knitting content. I did finish the secret knitting for hire that I was trying to get done. I finished that on Tuesday. I almost finished it Monday night. I just had the rest of the bind off to do, and I finished that up on Tuesday. So that went off to where it needed to go, which means that I had some yardage and skeins to add to the Knit Girls Stash Dash and Dramatic Knits Stash Down. So that was about 685 yards and 5 skeins that I used of that Rowan Pure Life. It's Pure Life or Vive. That was the recycled yarn. So I did take a picture of the finished what I had finished. I don't know when the pattern is going to be released or how it's going to be released or whatever, but at some point maybe I'll be able to show you what I had done. The actual finishing of the garment was done by the designer, but I can show you what I had done once I get the word that I can do that. So we will move on to the whips. That was a finished object, but I don't have anything to show you. But the whips, again, because I was working on that knitting for hire, I didn't work on the sock yarn blanket, the modified Lady Eleanor, or the baby surprise jacket. But I'm hoping to get all of those things back out this week and start working on those. So hopefully I'll have some progress to show you on all of those projects next week. The things that I did work on were first of all, the Iris Mystery Shawl. I didn't get as far along as this as I would have liked. Clue 3 came out last Friday, and I don't think I had started it when I had recorded. No, I don't think I did. When I recorded on Saturday last week, I had not started Clue 3. I had finished clue 2, but I don't think I had started clue 3. I have started clue 3 on this one, and this is how it's looking so far. And I think I have like this, I think I'm at the point where I can do this linen stitch again. I think there's like, I don't know, like I want to say 4 to 6 rows of the linen stitch again. You can, she gives you options, so you don't have to do certain things. If you look like you're running out of yarn, you can skip over some things. And then there's like 4 more rows after that before I can get to clue 4. I did print clue 4 out, but I obviously haven't gotten to that part yet. I still am loving this yarn. I love how the colors are coming together in this pattern. It's really looking nice. I can't wait to finish it. If all goes well this week, I will finish up. I didn't really even look at clue 4, so I don't even know how many rows it is. I think it is the final clue, but I don't even know how many rows it is or whatever. But I'm hoping that I can finish this up this week because it is really nice, and I really like to see it done. I really would. So that's coming along. I did do a tutorial on the double stitch that was in clue 2. I wasn't really sure what to include in the tutorial. I kind of went through how I interpreted the pattern and how I changed it to make it work for me. And I did a short tutorial on that, which I am planning on posting before I post this. So if you're getting this and you haven't seen the tutorial and you're on iTunes, you might want to go into your iTunes and grab that other video, because I think iTunes only downloads the most recent. It doesn't back up. So I'm planning on posting that tutorial right before I post this one, which means it'll hit iTunes first, and then this one will follow right up behind it. So if you haven't seen that tutorial and you're interested, you can go check it out. I am going to start doing my tutorials. I think I did the interlock tutorial and a little spinning tutorial within my other podcasts, but I am going to start doing any tutorial that I do and post it separately. And the reason for that is that I have found that I like to hang on to those tutorials on my iPod just in case I need to use them for something else in the future. So I'd hate to have you keep the whole episode and then have to scroll through the episode in order to find the part that you need for, if you're trying to see that tutorial. So I'm going to start posting my tutorials separately. I am going to try and pull that interlock tutorial out of the other episode and post that separately. I don't think I'm going to do that for the spinning one, because at some point I am planning on doing some kind of a spinning tutorial, so I'll include that information in a future episode. So that is the Iris Mystery Shawl. And again, I hope that I can finish that up this week for you. The next one is the Traveling Woman, and I tried my darndest to get this finished last night, but not quite. I have 2 rows left and then the bind off to finish it. So there it is. I am, like I said, nearly done. I did move my lifeline. I don't know if you can see the lifeline in there. I did move it after I finished the 3rd repeat of chart A, and I am still loving this pattern, and I will definitely be doing it again. This was a heavier fingering weight. I wouldn't say heavy fingering weight, but not a light fingering weight. I would definitely do this again in a lighter fingering weight, probably using the same needle size, which is the size 6. And I also think I want to try it in a lace weight too, because the pattern just flowed. It was so easy. It was kind of like almost a mindless thing for me. I could just go and just not think about it too much. So I've really, really enjoyed it. So this project will definitely be done, I'm guessing today, because like I said, I have 2 rows left to go and the bind off. So if I can't get that done today, then I am just goofing off and not doing what I should be doing. Also, I did end up ordering the signature 5-inch needles. Last week I think I mentioned that I had the 6-inch tips, and when I was working with them, what it was doing, it just seemed like the tips were too long and they were kind of breaking the knitting up, I guess. I don't know. So I did order the 5-inch tips, and I like them so much better. So I am planning on selling all of my tips. I was hearing something moving over there, so I was wondering what it was. So I'm planning on selling all of the tips that I have so that I can go and get the 5-inch tips, because I think I will enjoy them a lot better if I have the 5-inch tips. So if anybody's interested in purchasing the tips that I have, and they will be at a discount, contact me on Ravelry or the blog or wherever. I am going to be selling them so that I can get some money to buy the other tips that I really want. They all are 6-inch tip length. The 6-inch tip length, stiletto points, and it's a 32-inch total cable. Not the cable isn't 32 inches, but from tip to tip, it's 32 inches. All of them are that. So again, if you're interested, contact me. We can work something out. If you just want to buy one needle or whatever, then that's fine too. So, but I am going to be selling those and getting the shorter tips that I think I will like better. But if somebody doesn't mind the 6-inch tips, maybe you want to get them at a discount. So anyway, so this is coming right along, and that will definitely be done today. I usually do a lot of knitting and spinning when I'm doing my editing and my compiling of the podcast, so there's a lot of time that things can get done. And I still have a good bit of yarn left of this, so I'm not even remotely concerned about possibly running out of yarn. The next thing is the Bacardi, which got a tiny bit of love, but not too much. I did pick this project up on Friday before I just totally lost all knitting mojo whatsoever. I don't know what it was about Friday. And Friday was actually cooler than it was on Thursday, but I was very bored at work on Friday because literally I had nothing to do. I think I did one little thing in the morning, and all day I had nothing to do work-wise. So I was pretty bored most of the day on Friday, and usually when I'm bored and I pick up my knitting, I'm fine, but I don't know what it was on Friday. It just was a little crazy. Anyway, so I want to say I did maybe 5 rows. Maybe 5 rows. Not that much. I did get into the next pattern row, which you'll see there, with the light yellow and the green. And I'm still really loving this project when I work on it. And I need to move it along, but again, this week I was working on the knitting for hire at the beginning of the week, and I just wasn't feeling it after that. And here I go losing stitches again. But it is coming along. I did do a couple more rows. Now that I have the knitting for hire done, and I will have the Traveling Woman finished today. Hopefully the Iris Mystery Shawl will be done by the next podcast, and then I can really focus on this. Like I said, I am going to pull out those other projects, the Baby Surprise, the Modified Lady Eleanor, and the sock yarn blanket as I feel like it, but I would like to get some progress on those. And then I've got things running around in my head, you know, as far as what I want to start next. So I've got socks on the brain and some stuff with some of my hand spun that I have gotten done. So this is coming along. I saw that Margaret posted that she finished her body and it looks beautiful. So if you haven't seen Margaret's picture on the Ravelry board, go and check it out. She used blues, I think blues and greens. You know, it really came out nice. And she used a wool on hers. This is her second Bacardi. And she was doing wools instead of the cotton this time. But this is, again, not much progress on it, but it looks really cool though. And nothing really enlightening. I mean, obviously, how much enlightenment can you get on a project when you only do 5 rows of it? So those are my knitting whips. This week I also was spinning. Actually, I think I spun more this week than I did anything else. I did work more on the Yarn Hollow BFL and Tussa Silk. The more I work with this, the more I like it. I think last week I mentioned that as I was finishing up the last third of the last bit of the first third, I determined that I didn't need to pre-draft this fiber. And so I haven't been. And it's been going so great. Now, when I first started this yarn, or this fiber, I was not liking the BFL and Tussa Silk combination. However, now that I've worked with it more, now that I've figured out that I can't spin every fiber the same way that I spun the last fiber, because they're all different. So I know now that I'm going to need to spin regular BFL different than I spin BFL and Tussa Silk. And I'm assuming that that's probably going to be the case with many other fibers as well. I just need to get in that mindset that I can't do it the same every single time. So I did do quite a bit. I mean, you could see this is the shaft, and I did do quite a bit on this one. Nowhere near, this is the whole third, so I still have a lot to go. But I am glad that I finished the first third, because that was part of my goal for Tour de Fleece. And I started this, so I think in that respect I did meet my goal as far as the Tour de Fleece goes, and I got a lot more spinning done than I really thought I was gonna get done. So that's coming along. Again, that fiber, because I'm spinning it all on my spindle, is going to take quite a while to get spun up, because it is on the spindle. You know, it takes a long time to spin it on this little thing. I mean, I might spin, 20 yards in maybe 20 minutes, but 20 yards of this, and then if I spin 3 times 3, because I'm doing it 3-ply, because I've divided everything into thirds. So, and I don't know how many yards I'll get out of it, but that's probably going to be, close to 1,200 yards that I have to spin up in order to get a 3-ply yarn. Who knows? So, anyway, it's coming along. I'm still really enjoying the colors on this. I mean, this is just beautiful colors, oranges and pinks and some blues and whatnot. So it's very fun. I think when I sit down to spin it, I try and get through a whole color repeat when I'm doing it, just to kind of have a sense of how much I'm actually accomplishing, because you can't really tell on the spindle. So that is that. And then on Viola, I was spinning the BFL that I hand dyed, and I finished it. I finished plying it yesterday. It's still a tiny bit damp, because I did soak it last night, but I started plying it on Friday when I got home from work. Friday I was so stressed after work, my boss with him this week. I was going to come home and get some stuff done around the house, and I'm like, you know what, I just don't feel like it. So I came home and I sat down and I started plying this. It's kind of been sitting there waiting for me all week, because I didn't want to start plying it and then have to move it off to the side, because it was a Navajo ply and I'm not exactly sure. It's hard to stop and move the wheel and what have you in the middle. So I just kind of left it there and then just kept applying it every time I sat down. So, but it came out beautifully. I mean, I am very happy with how this came out. It is mostly very consistent. There are some bits that are a bit thinner, like here, a bit thinner and a little thicker. Here's another little section. But overall, I'm very happy with how this came out. This is my first Navajo ply for the full 4 ounces. I did do some Navajo ply on some leftover of the Lady Llama fiber. I 3-plied that, but I traditionally 3-plied the first part of it, and then I had a little bit left over on one spindle, so I Navajo plied the leftover. But this, I Navajo plied the entire bobbin, and again, I'm very happy with how it came out. I'm looking forward to finding a project for this. I got about 440 yards of this, so not bad for a 3-ply actually, I think. So I definitely can get a shawl out of it. I'm not gonna make socks. I'm just, with socks and hand spun, I like my socks to somewhat match, and because the colors don't repeat the same throughout the entire skein, I think the socks would be different. So I probably won't be spinning or making socks out of something unless I spin the yarn as a natural color and then dye it afterwards. We'll see, you know. I might change my mind. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to finding some kind of a shawl to make with this. Again, 440 yards is a good amount of yarn, so I think I can find a nice shawl. And I would say that this is a fingering weight yarn, just a general fingering weight, maybe even a medium to light fingering. So I'm very happy with how that came out. So that is my spinning. But now I have to start something else to spin. So I'm asking for your help. I need to decide. I can never make a decision what to do next. I kind of like, oh, I want to do this and oh, I want to do that. I can't do everything at the same time. So I've picked out 3 things that I'm interested in spinning next, but I can't decide which one I want to spin more. So I'm going to ask you guys. And it's not a contest or anything like that. It's just, I need your opinion, because if I don't get your opinion, then I'm going to be sitting here, you know, wondering, oh, I want to spin this, and then I'll start that, and I'm like, oh man, I really should have started the other thing. So I'm just going to take your opinions and the majority rules. So we'll start with this one. This is the first one. There's going to be 3 that I'm going to ask you. You tell me which one you want me to spin. This is a BFL, and it's from the Wool Gatherings, and it's burgundy and browns and some gold, and it's just yummy. So that's the first one. And this one you've seen before. I've showed it when I bought it. This is from 4 Rivers Yarn and Fiber, and this is a merino base. And this is just gorgeous. I mean, I just keep looking at this fiber. This is a merino, and this is the first merino that I've had. And I understand that merino has a shorter staple length, but it just looks so pretty in the braid. It's just so smooth and nice, and I don't want to mess the braid up. I almost want to go back to her shop and buy more, so that if I do use this one, I have another one to look forward to at some point, which I probably will do anyway. I've been kind of scoping the Etsy shops today. Knitting's My Bag posted some fiber, and that she was going to go and buy, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty, those are my colors. And so I went over there and I bought some fiber, and then I went over to Knitting's My Bag Etsy shop and ended up buying a bag that I've been looking at for a few weeks, and it was still sitting there in the shop. So I guess it was kind of my sign that said, this is your bag because it's still there waiting for you to buy it. So I did. So I bought 2 more bumps of fiber and a knitting bag, or a knitting bag set. So this is the second one. And the third one, I think it was last week or the week before, I showed you this fiber that I purchased from Dripping Fiber Studios. And this is a little bat. And I have 4 of these little bats. And this just looks yummy. I unwound one of the little bats just to see it yesterday, and it is just so cool. However, I have no idea how to spin from a bat. So, if you guys choose this one, you or somebody is going to need to tell me what I'm supposed to do with this when I take it out of this little knot that she's got it in. It's just so pretty. So, I don't know what I want to spin. I want to spin all of them right now, but I can't. I'm not going to get in the habit of, you know, trying to spin multiple things at the same time. I have one wheel. I have multiple spindles. Now, I could spin multiple things on the spindle, but because the spindle takes so much longer, I don't really want to do that. So, right now, I'm spinning that the yarn hollow on my spindle, and I'm going to take one more thing and spin it on my wheel. So, which one should I spin? The Wool Gatherings. Now they're all falling apart again. The Wool Gatherings, the burgundies, the browns, and the gold. The 4 Rivers Yarn and Fiber, the greens, the gold, and the brown. Or the Dripping Fiber Studios, the purples and the sparkly. I'm kind of nervous about the sparkly, but not so much that it would make me not want to do it. So you tell me, what's your best guess? I'll put up a thread for you to tell me which one you want me to spin, and then I'll take majority rolls. I'm not going to wait too long. It's not going to be like I'm going to wait till next show. Sometime midweek when I'm ready to start spinning again, I'll just take a majority rolls at that point and then go, and then you can either check out the thread to see which fiber I went with, or you can wait until next show and I'll show you my progress on that. So that is the next project for my wheel, one of those 3. Also, I want to mention that I'm going to be having a prize drawing. That's not part of the prize drawing. I am going to have a prize drawing in 2 weeks on episode 15. And I will set up another thread for that. And how you are to enter that drawing is to tell me what you think about the podcast. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning, I like to hear what people think. If you don't like something, please feel free to tell me, you know, what you don't like about it. Is it too long? Is it too short? Is it too much gobbledygook that I'm including? You know, whatever. You know, whatever you like, whatever you don't like, I want to know. And so, but don't just tell me I like it. Tell me what you like about it or what you don't like about it. Or make a suggestion of what I can include for content in the future, or what tutorials you would like to see me do in the future. So either one of those things. Tell me what you like or don't like about the show, or make a suggestion about content. I'll set up a thread and we'll start collecting posts on that. Some of the prizes that will be in the for the drawing next in 2 weeks will be a pattern on Ravelry, up to $10. Or you could choose 2 patterns that are $5 each, or what have you. So up to $10 in giftable patterns on Ravelry. I will also be giving one person the Knitting's My Bloom. I'm thinking of Lois with Knitting's My Bag. Knitting Blooms mug. I ordered this from Zazzle. I think that's the name, Zazzle. So I will order one for one lucky winner. Also, there will be at least one book, which I don't know what book yet, and hopefully some other prizes if I come up with some other things, or if a vendor decides they want to send something along for a prize on the show. And so that will be in 2 weeks. So you have 2 weeks to enter the contest and for the drawing. Next, I want to mention that next Friday, July 29th, I'm going to do a virtual knitting club. I was doing these on a regular basis. I was doing them every Friday, and then my husband got a little bit jealous of the fact that he never got to spend a Friday night with me. So I kind of backed off a little bit, and I was going to have one last Friday, but it was so hot, and when I got home from work and after having the week that I had, I just didn't feel like, I didn't think I was going to be good company. So I just said, no, I'm not gonna do that tonight. So next Friday, July 29th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be in Tiny Chat. You can check out, I have a thread over on the Ravelry boards with all the details and everything. You can check that out. Also, I think it was my very first episode, I mentioned that I was going to start doing book reviews and what have you. And here we are in episode 13. And I haven't done any. And the reason for that is because there's so many other podcasts that are doing book reviews. I figure I don't need to, at this point, unless I read a book that is just like so mind-boggling and nobody else has done a review on it, then I might do a review on that book. But I mentioned before that I don't really typically read my knitting books. I open them, I look at the pictures and the patterns, and then I stash them away until I need them to do a pattern. So at this point, I'm not going to do book reviews. However, if you are an indie dyer or an indie shop on Etsy and you want me to review some of your products, let me know. And I'd be happy to do that. Or if you, as a consumer, have something that you've been thinking about buying, but you don't know if you want to buy it, and because you haven't heard anything about it, let me know, and I'll either buy it myself or contact the shop and see if they would be interested in, you know, making a donation to have me review it. We'll see how that goes. So that's my plan with that. Also, Knittopia. I've mentioned this before, the knitting retreat that I host and sponsor in Lexington, Michigan. It will be held April 12th through 22nd, 2012. And I've already started to receive some acknowledgments from vendors who want to participate, and so that's exciting. And we will also be having a market at the event. Probably on the 2 Saturdays, the event runs through 2 weekends, and I'm guessing the Saturdays are the best days to have vendors there. So we will be having a market both days. So if you're in the area, or if you want to travel to the area and participate in the market, please contact me and we can get that all worked out. I have already been contacted by Andrea Wong, who does knitting videos for Portuguese style knitting, and she is from Columbus, Ohio, which is about 7 hours from where we're having the retreat. And she has already offered to come up and participate in the market and also do some demonstrations on her technique. And when she made a donation to the retreat a couple years ago, I also purchased a couple of her videos because I thought it was very interesting. I'm always looking for new ways to knit because I knit so much that in order to prevent, repetitive injury, I like to change up how I knit. So sometimes I knit English, sometimes I knit continental. I haven't got to the point where I can just switch over to Portuguese style knitting just on a whim, but I have knit that way by watching her videos, and it is quite interesting. So she's going to be there on April 14th to do some demonstrations and to also be part of the market as well. So that is very exciting that we still are a long way off, and there's a lot of events that I'm going to be attending, like Stitches Midwest and Knittin' in the Mitten, before we get to Knitopia. But, you have to start early to get people booked for the market and stuff, because, they have to put it on their schedules as well. But I think that's all I have for you today. I think it's kind of a short show. I kind of ran through everything quickly, but that's okay. Sometimes you need a shorter show. I have no idea how long it is because I forgot to set the timer. I'm trying to keep the shows under 55 minutes, because at like 57 minutes, that's when my camera decides to take a short break. I don't know what it is about the camera. My husband's doing some research on, he got a new camera, and he's been doing some research to find out why certain cameras only record for a certain period of time and then cut the video and then start recording again, which is kind of what the flip camera is doing for me at about 57 minutes. And he hasn't been able to figure out why it does it. If it's because the camera gets to can only store so much memory before it, I don't know how it works. Anyway, I just know that my camera stops at 57 minutes. It then immediately starts back up again, but you lose like a couple seconds there. Anyway, just taking a quick look at my notes to see if there was anything else that I forgot. I think that's it. So, again, if you have any questions or comments about the podcast, please feel free to contact me on Ravelry or on the blog. You can also check out the Knitopia website if you'd like to see some pictures and information about the event. And that's it. So that's all for now. Bye.